Our next panel of the day, the last panel of the day for ESG and Agriculture Sector Workshop, is on the topic of the future of food and beverage. So we will hear what companies in Vietnam are doing to adapt to changing consumer tastes, integrate innovations that accelerate positive ESG outcomes, and what investors can do to advance building a more sustainable and inclusive value chain and F&B sector in Vietnam. So I would like to invite to the stage our next panel, which includes Ngoc, Head of Sustainability for Heineken Vietnam, Ms. Luong, CEO of Eco Vietnam, Mr. Vincent Mourou, co-founder and chair of MAROU Faiseurs du Chocolat, and welcoming back Alex Downs, Business and Investment Officer from the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development. For the moderator of this session, it will be Niklas Wagner, who is the general manager for this lovely hotel and brings with him years of experience in F&B and hospitality. And I will leave it to you, Niklas.
First of all, I want to say thank you to Van and Mimi and Hao for putting this great conference together. And for allowing us to be the venue sponsor. It's great to see this happening here. It's an important topic for us. We're trying to do as much as we can. And so having this conference here has been fantastic. Thank you. So let's start with introductions real quick. So we have Ms. Nhi, Head of Sustainability for Heineken Vietnam. You've been Head of Sustainability since 2012, working on brewing a better Vietnam.
Thank you.
Which sounds great. She strongly believes that sustainability is the responsibility of every individual, and every action counts towards a better Vietnam and a better world.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the panel. We have Vincent, co-founder and chairman of MAROU Chocolate, Vietnam's first award-winning bean-to-bar chocolate company. MAROU's pioneering approach to chocolate. I can, okay. Is that close enough? No, okay. Vietnam's first award-winning bean-to-bar company. MAROU's pioneering approach to chocolate experience has inspired many chocolate brands around the world. Vincent has built a truly remarkable Vietnam-grown company. Fantastic. Welcome to the panel. And Ms. Huyen, CEO of Eco Vietnam. She's the founder, a pioneering startup company in the field of solution consulting, design, construction, and installation of equipment systems for composting food waste. Huyen is extremely passionate about bringing new technologies and solutions to Vietnam's market. And finally, Alex Downs, I think enough introductions, right? So you said about 190 million investment fund?
160.
160. Yeah. All right. Previous
no promotions for me.
There you go. We have to have some promotion. All right. So let's talk about food and beverage. And perhaps quickly, before we dive into questions, we'll set the scene a little bit. In 2022, the approximate market value for food and non-alcoholics was 40 billion USD. As we learned yesterday, Vietnam's middle class is growing rapidly and incomes are rising. This translates into increasing spending, especially on dining out. Estimated household spending on F&B consumption alone ranges from 20 to 48%. Tourists spent an average of 23.7% of their budget on F&B. Vietnam is the leading beer consumer in Asia. So you're in a good place, Ms. B. The market worth is about 10.1 billion and annual growth about 5.6%. That all while there is a notable shift towards consumption of low and no alcohol beers. There's Heineken 0.0, right?
Yeah.
There's a strong impact of social media on discussions about food and beverage. Approximately 80 million Vietnamese are on social media, with Facebook being the leading platform. This drives engagement with global trends such as healthy eating and sustainability. Increased urbanization, predicted to reach 40%, as we also learned yesterday, up from 20% in 1990, is also expected to grow food consumption, convenient foods, and eating out habits. So, the stage set, let's go to our first question. What can we expect for the future of food industry in Vietnam? What should investors understand about Vietnam to identify promising F&B companies for investment? Maybe that's a good start for you, Alex.
Sure. Thank you very much. Very nice introduction. So, from my side, what I would like to flag is the importance of value chains. And I would like to start with just an analogy. So, when I came in this morning, I saw that most people here had a cell phone. And just to put it in technology terms, if you integrate software and hardware, the results can be quite spectacular. But this also applies to food value chains. If you can integrate and tightly integrate food value chains, the results can be spectacular. And what I mean by this specifically is you can produce products at the right price, at the right quality, while also empowering the farmers. So it doesn't have to be a win-lose situation. It can actually be a win-win. And I think the opportunity in Vietnam is very interesting at the moment, because when people do studies on willingness to pay for products, what they find is that the Vietnamese, and this is the average Vietnamese consumer, what they want is something they can trust. That's number one. Number two, they want something that's good for the environment. So the Vietnamese are actually very aware of this, the issues with the environment. And lastly, they want something that's healthy. And when you put this together, what you see is a trend where there's quite a very interesting opportunity for companies to really deliver what customers really want. And this is where I would summarize this as really focusing in on the value chain.
Hi everyone, I'm Huyen from Eco Vietnam. I think that this is because as Niklas shared with you that we are working on the waste, food waste especially, and out there that you see the station with food waste. And then if you ask me about what can we expect about the future food industry in Vietnam, I think that is the future food, as Binu and also Johan earlier sharing about the chemical fertilizer, the soil quality, and also like about the animal feed. I think the future of food industry that is what kind of food that we can depend on. This is what related to the food waste or not. So I think that is that I just say the question mark for everyone to think about. And I think this is like the investor can understand about the Vietnam identity, the promotion F&B companies for investment. I think that is for investor point of view. I think look for the companies who really focus on the ESG that is as we talking about here in 2 days. And I think that is the example that is right next on the right hand side to me, that is Vincent. So the company is really focused on sustainability. This is my thanks.
Thank
What
you.
a handover.
Thank
Great.
you for the handover. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, value chain, agriculture is key. I think that in Vietnam we are in an interesting place because it's a country that has a culture and is based from agriculture, and there's also a great diversity available in this country. And also there's a great pride. So I think companies that start from looking at bringing value to food is a great way to, great place to look. Because I think then you start from the top, right? It comes from the values, and then it goes into the actions and the relationships and everything. So for investors, I think personally that's where I would start, is how people are describing their vision and what they want to be doing, and then then you can see how it's acted upon. So yeah.
Yes, I think we already discussed about this one, and Niklas already set a very, how to say, promising context for Vietnam. Vietnam is a developing country, and we all know that the young and middle class is increased and increased. And that group of consumer, they very much have the two interests. I think the first one about health and safety. So from point of view consumer, I think the future of F&B industry is somehow that the product should be very high quality, hygiene, safety, and nutritional benefit, yeah, or healthy attribute is something that consumer is looking for. Another point of view from consumer is they are also looking toward sustainable green living style. And for the young consumer, for sure they did not like my generation. So they have to think about their future and also their next future. They like to protect the environment. They like to have the good and the good society and healthier society as well. So ESG is somehow that the company have to, that become the must have. It's not a nice to have at all. And innovation, how we can, I think sustainability, ESG, innovation to continue provide the variety of product with high quality and also the circularity. I think about the value chain. You talk about 40% and 25 to 40% people spend for food and beverage. So that's one also the very huge money through the value chain. So you can see the huge opportunity along the value chain for the food and beverage and their innovation and their about circularity. So I see a very big opportunity for the people to invest in that one. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Mia, maybe we stay with you, and maybe you can tell us how do you address the preferences of young consumers?
Yeah.
And from a sustainability angle, obviously that's your main drive, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I like to back to the two interests of a young consumer in specific and I think the mass consumer in general. The first one about health safety. You already know that studies show 1/3 of Generation Z and Y, they already cut on the alcohol consumption. That's linked to the health and also to the safety, the healthy lifestyle. The second one is about the sustainability, the ESG, about circularity. So how Heineken Vietnam, how we address that one? For the first one, it's very much aligned to what we are looking for. We have the strategy, the sustainability strategy called Brewing a Better World globally and Brewing Better Vietnam for Vietnam. Yeah, because we contribute to the world, but for sure we have to start in Vietnam first. And that strategy included 3 pillars. The first one, environmental. The second one about society. And the third one about responsible, because we are the beer industry, so for sure we have to take care about this one. So cutting down about alcohol, that's very much aligned with our responsible pillar. We have the 3 key things. That's one. The first one about our choice. The second one about how we can enjoy our product responsibly. And the third one about how we make that one become cool. Because if you keep talking about, okay, drink responsibly, please, nobody do that. Somehow, I think beer is about enjoyment. Everybody like to have a beer to refresh their mind and also their, I don't know, but for me, after work, if you have the cool beer, that's somehow refreshing my mind and recharge my energy. So that's one. The first one, how Heineken Vietnam address that one. The first one, in the last 3 years only, we introduced the 5 innovative new products. And all that one with the lower, we have it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I forgot about my slide.
We're all getting thirsty now.
Yeah.
Are there going to be handouts?
So that's one about 5 new products in the last 3 years. And all this one with the lower alcohol content compared to the regular one. Yeah, so you can see here. And we have the Heineken 0.0, thank you, Niklas already mentioned about us before. So people have more choice and you can drink anything you want. So we provide more sessionable lager. Yeah, and also that. So that's one. Besides all the things that we we're working like we have the marketing code to ensure that on the label and the communication is talking about how to drink, how to enjoy the drink that without any harmful. Yeah, that's the first thing. The second one, how we can address the oh, this one, thank you, but yeah, I can share this as well. The second one about how we can address the thing that consumer also like to look to go forward and that's one green sustainable lifestyle. So that's one talking about the environmental pillar. Yeah. So for sure, the first one in production, all our new beer and all the beer is produced in a very sustainable standard. I mean the green standard. For example, now all 6 breweries of Heineken Vietnam in Vietnam already brewed by 100% renewable thermal energy, the biomass one, and also we just last year we achieved 96% of renewable in our production. And all 6 breweries now already achieved zero waste to landfill since 2021. So for sure in production, all our product is already very much aligned with the sustainable production. But besides that one, we also like to inspire consumer and also encourage consumer to action because we all know that from line to action is somehow we have a gap over there. Yeah. So for Heineken, we have the Heineken brand, we have the campaign, the program we call a little greener every day. Just a little greener every day. Yeah, from Heineken, we also like to do that one because sustainability, environmental is a long journey. And we can not say that, okay, I like to have 100% renewable energy tomorrow. No, we have to need many support from policy, yeah, from the government, from energy industry, so many things there. But we could try our best to a little bit greener every day. So since 2022, if you attend any Heineken event, you can have a chance to see Heineken Green Bar. And the things that you see, that the bar, all the material make the bar have the light before or after that. It means that 100% of material making the bar is reused and recycled. You see here, all the things we take the crate, Heineken crate to make the bar, and even the how to say, I don't know how to say this one, but the surface of the bar is made from the plastic, and that plastic is recycled from the plastic label of Heineken. Bottle, we have the plastic label. And we use that when you collect this one, and that's what. I love the example of the previous panel to talk about taking plastic to do the coaster for pizza B&B.
Yeah.
Pizza for B. So that's one is something like that. So that's also the action from Heineken brand and also to encourage people. And I love the campaign so much because, yeah, just a little greener every day. The key things that we act every day. Yeah, so it can contribute. And like, yeah, thank Niklas for introducing me about, I think every action count, even small one. Yeah, so this one is the one thing. For Tiger, I think if anyone here drink Tiger and you know the Tiger, encourage people to engage your possibility. Yeah, so I think that's very Asian, very Vietnamese. Someone, we have the possibility inside, but we don't like to be outside, we like to be other one. So Tiger, like encourage the young consumer, like engage your possibility, shy out, buy your own way. Yeah, and I love the story of Strongbow. I'm not so sure if you know here. Strongbow is the apple cider, and Strongbow had a campaign. Sorry, I have too long.
No.
Please stop me if I talk too long. Yeah.
That's why I said we may be here for a while.
Yeah, thank you. And Strongbow, they had campaigns like pause to chill. Yeah. So reminding, yeah, we are always busy in our daily life. So please pause for a while to return to the nature, to the social connection, to refresh our life, to recharge ourselves. So all that's one beside the producer, I like to say, but also the brand, they also play the role to support and to encourage the action from consumer. And that's the one that we address the things. Thank you.
Great.
Sorry if I talk too long. Yeah.
Great, thank you for sharing. We can feel and hear your passion, which is really great. And obviously, you know, food and beverage is a fun topic. It's you know, it what brings people together, and you know, where you celebrate and you enjoy food together. I think it's such a basic need that we all have, right? But there's a flip side to it. And it's great to see that you're almost 100% zero waste. That's amazing.
Thank you.
We're trying to divert 70% from landfill, and that's incredibly difficult, right? We're not anywhere close, but
Yeah.
to reach that level is amazing.
Yeah.
But maybe over to Huyen, because you're working on exactly that. So maybe tell us a little bit, Huyen, about your company and what you're doing.
Yeah, actually, like everyone talking about food and drinks and for enjoyment, and my part is about the waste. Like after everyone eating, of course, that we're producing waste, and waste from the not only like after we eating, but also from production. I think that is like, can you show me the picture? I would like to share with you a little bit of some facts, maybe that everyone will notice about like what is the reality of food waste in Vietnam. And as you can see on my screen, that is food waste currently ranking number 2 in terms of food waste in ASEAN Pacific, just after China. So like, sorry, we all talking about food and beverage inside the room, but I'm talking a little bit about waste behind the scene of all what beautiful things that we eat. And then is the rate of food waste in Vietnam is like twice as much higher than others is like developed countries. So as you can see that it is like on the picture there is like, if you notice that if you research about food waste in Vietnam is every 5 to 8 tons of food waste, like food waste contained in 10 tons of solid waste. So it's a huge amount. And then it is estimated as about 8.8 million tons of food waste every year in Vietnam. And it causing like 3.9 million a year. And it accounting that 2% of GDP. And all of us here, including me, producing a part of that in there. And what we can do. So actually that is the story behind us, like before I worked for an international company and a multi-international company, but looking at the situation in Vietnam, and I realized that it is, as my passion is bringing something new tech to Vietnam, I have to do something. So that is make me make decision to set up Eco Vietnam, and we bring the solution here to convert all the food waste to become fertilizer. I think that earlier in the previous discussion that Binu also mentioning about chemical fertilizer and the first layer of soil. I think that is if you relate it to all the food waste that we're producing per day, what can we do with those food waste? I think that this is the sample, this is the small pack, that is we package all the waste that we produce every day, that is compost. And then this is we already work with agriculture and forest students to test, to compare with chemical fertilizer and also that organic fertilizer at the moment having in the market, to compare with that. And then we realize that is the fertilizer from the food waste can hold the nutrition in the soil better than others. And because it's not washed by the water. And then, yes, like the host, they are talking about the animal feed. The food waste can also, if separate properly, and then if we treat it properly, we can convert to be animal feed. So, and also about like, I think that you guys will heard about biogas. This can produce the energy and also fuel from waste. But maybe that not so many people in the room here like aware of that. Because we only think that we just produce just a little bit only. Why it's make the big like that? But yes, I think that I have one short video here. That is a kid, I think that he's in another room next door. When I was in the Fulbright University, and then we have the station exactly same that you saw outside here, that we try to educate everyone to separate waste properly at the event you are joining. And then we have the solution to convert all the food waste at work. And then if you notice that 2 days event, all the food waste we produce after lunch are converting to be fertilizer at that station just next door outside. And this video, can you turn on the video? you can feel that he smelled the food waste inside the composting machine. And then he asked that whether that is that 24 hours? Yes, it within 24 hours. We have so many technology out there can convert all the food waste to become the valuable sugar for different industrial like animal feed, energy, fuel, or also the fertilizer to replace that all the chemical fertilizer. So this is. Thank you very much. Hopefully that is all the information is not ruined your food and beers enjoyment, and then also the chocolate.
We'll come back to the delicious stuff in a minute. But a great solution, and I think you're looking for investment, right?
Yes.
No, because we had a very nice chat yesterday at the cocktail, and for businesses like ours, we would love to use those machines, but sometimes you have capital constraints, right? So there was the idea of having a business where the machines are actually leased, so they become operational expense rather than a capital expense. So there's perhaps a business model behind that. So.
Yeah, actually, great talk yesterday when Niklas, because I work with New World Hotel team for a while, and then we try to find the right solution for them to apply at this hotel to convert all the food waste to become useful food. Sure. But then it has come to the finance and come to the how we can calculate the return of investment and how to convert from CAPEX to OPEX, and then. To convert from CAPEX to OPEX, we need support from for finance. And then we are just the local, very small team, myself and my friend. We set up this team because of our passion to do something small and start small. And then now we receive a lot of requirement from the customer that how can we rent this machine? Because it's we want to pay as operation cost instead of capital cost. And then of course we need the support from the investor to be able to build that idea, model, business plan. And I hope that it is someone after this event, we can have someone to talk about that. Thank you very much, Niklas, to bring this
You're
up.
welcome. And Alex just said he's going to look into that. So. Thank you. So good. All right, Vincent, let's get back to something edible and delicious. So what is your vision for creating value through food? And how do you stay committed to that?
So how do we create value through food? So the one thing that we do, first of all, I wanted to say one thing based on what you guys were saying. For me, being authentic is being sustainable. So if you're authentic, you're sustainable. And so it goes to our approach to bringing value. So creating products that are authentic. And in that way, for us, we were able to create a chocolate that took people's attention, and we were able to be placed at a certain level in the market and be able to ask for a certain price and create a virtuous circle. So, so really, the thing for us has always been to elevate with chocolate. So making an authentic chocolate. We don't need to put, vanillin and soy lecithin and play with it to correct defects. We actually, work directly with farmers on the quality first. So, that's our approach, is really creating something that's authentic first. And authenticity is a core value of ours, and it's in everything that we do. And so it's in all of our actions and in what we say. So that's really how we assess whether we do something or not. It's the approach has to be one of authenticity. So in the ingredients, in the approach, and working directly with suppliers as well, so that they can get the most benefit. Yeah.
Great. So maybe expand a little bit. When we had the preparation call for this panel, you mentioned that there's products you're looking at and you would like to introduce them, but unless you find the right supply chain, the right producers, you just don't go down that road. maybe you have an example to share of something that you're eager to put out. But
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're confronted with is that it's harder and harder to be artisanal in today's food value chain because of compliance. And it's coming from all directions. It's not a local thing. It's not a national thing. It's an international phenomenon. I mean, the more the years go on, the harder it is to really function the same way on an artisanal level. You have to adapt. And adapting takes capital. And more than just capital. But anyway, so one situation that we were confronted with was a situation based on climate change. Unfortunately, we lost one of the most prized cacaos from Tan Phu Dam, an island between Benche and Tingyang in the Mekong Delta. And that farmer lost 50% of his cacao trees. The rest were not producing. So we replanted. 2 years later, drought hit again. And anyway, we kept buying the honey. We had also been buying honey. And that honey today is very challenging for us to buy. You know, we are held to locally high compliance standards. I mean, we have to show where it's coming from. We have to have the right paperwork and so on. So in the food value chain, it's more and more complicated to be artisanal. And of course, most of you in this room probably aren't interested in the artisanal process, but it's the beginning. It's where you start. You don't start as an industrialist, you know. So Heineken didn't, and so you know that beginning is harder and harder in a way to start and to be able to then sell on even the local market, but to export. The FDA in the US, you know, they come to check in country. They came to check us about 6-7 years ago, and we were much smaller than we are today. And it was an 8-month project. Luckily we had cash. We were able to really bring our factory and our process, everything to the compliance level required. Otherwise, we would have been locked out of the U.S. So anyway, and that was 7 years ago. So you know, that's just something that's being faced. So you know, investors need to know that. And I'm sure they probably already do, but it's in manufacturing today. It's quite challenging to start. Yeah.
excellent. So, Alex, maybe that's a good segue back to you on, you know, how does Vietnam compare to other countries in the region when it comes to regulations and opportunities for investors and food startups? How do you see it?
So maybe I'll take this into two parts. One is just a comment on this is one of the things, so with the DFCD is made up of 4 consortium partners. So this is FMO, which is the Dutch Development Bank, Climate Fund Managers, WWF, and S&V. And one of the things I would say is we understand in the value chain there is a lot of pain points. So some of the things we try to do is working to provide technical assistance to farmers to try to help companies move up the value chain. But I fully appreciate your point, and it's very valid, right? How to do things with integrity and not to just become part of a machine, right? That's cranking out outputs. And so I think that's just a very good comment. How does Vietnam compare to other countries for the DFCD? From my perspective, I cover Asia Pac. So the key countries that I work in is Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan as my primary. And what I would say is that the Netherlands is a delta. The Netherlands over time has developed a pretty good GDP per capita, around 60,000 US per year. And I think there's a strong willingness between the Netherlands and Vietnam to collaborate on water management, agriculture, in many sectors. So I think what separates Vietnam from the other countries I work in is I think this very tight relationship between the Netherlands. And that can be seen by the amount of investments that the DFCD is doing in Vietnam. So at this stage, there's been 5 projects started in Vietnam, and we hope to have more. So one of the pieces with this project, with this meeting today, is getting a chance to meet some of the companies, right? Some of the different partners in the room who have businesses that are looking to grow and could potentially fit the DFCD. Yeah.
Great. So, Huyen, maybe back to you quickly. How do you see regulations? Do you have a lot of stones in front of you that you can't move past? Is it difficult?
Yeah, actually, talking about waste, I still remember when I started up this company, one of my friends said that this is why you hit the stone again, because it's like, talking about waste is in Vietnam is really a little bit like calling mafia market, because it's people have to have a relationship with the government. And then I said that there is always the ways to do that, and depend on which direction that you want to head to. So I still like brave enough to still start, and we still survive after 2 years. Talking about the regulation, yes, actually, as you can see that when we put the waste separation, in the government have a lot of announcement and saying about request that people have to separate waste at home. But I met a lot of Vietnamese saying that they request us to do separate waste at home, but out there the infrastructure, the truck is only one truck and dumped to one place. And then what is the meaningful behind if we separate waste at home and then out there is they still dump to one hole? So yes, and then of course the regulation, the rules have to come also with the infrastructure. And if we only give the rules and then if behind that rules is no infrastructure preparing ready for that, then it's no meaning at all. And then for us is that the reason why when we start only with food waste, and I think that is if we only bring the machine to convert all the to show everyone that we have the machine to recycle all the food waste, no one really pay attention much. But if we put it together with all the other bins and we share with everyone that if we separate waste properly, we can do the recycling really properly, and food waste can all recycle to at anywhere that you want. But the other ways that, as Jimmy also sharing, that is all the bar table making from plastic waste. And I think that Vincent also very familiar with plastic people, because he's also the investor for a small part of that, and myself also, and Huyen also mentioned about plastic people team. We all trying to support. We're very small community, and we try to support someone taking action about waste separation. And yes, we were waiting for the government to give the clear guideline for waste separation. And then how we can, small company, we can, when we try to join hands, we feel it's really meaningful when we're doing that. And then we try to share with others. And I think that myself also, that waiting sooner, very soon, that is people, the government people, that is the request about how to concentrate in food waste, because food waste is the reason all the other waste not be recycled properly, because if we mix everything together, then it creates the bad soup for recycling. So yeah, that's what I say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, excellent. Ms. Mee, maybe from your perspective, what can consumers do to take action against climate change? Action came out. So what would you suggest?
Actually, I still love the boat model that I have, because I have the sustainability course at Oxford University, and they said that sustainability is like a boat, and the wheel will be governed by the government. So policy is always very important to show direction, to support for to give direction for the industry, for business, and also for consumer to go for that way. Company business is about the fuel of that boat. Yeah, because without the company, without business, without the energy, without the fuel, it's always very hard to move forward. But the most important thing is about the water and the wind to move forward. That's one. And I think the consumer, the mass consumer is that one, about the water, about the wind to support and to move forward. We all know that now the study already showed that over half of consumer in Vietnam, they are really look forward and they like to apply the sustainable green in their living every day. But like I shared before, from wish, from awareness, from life into action, we need some support. And that support, I think, because everything, our life is around product. Yeah, food, drink, anything, micro that I use, clothes, all things from product. So I think the first one, the business, I would like to say the business please play the role to encourage the consumer to act from, to facilitate the wish and the life into action. And for the consumer, I think that, yeah, it depends very much, like you already say about about habit. It's very hard to change the habit. That's one thing. The second thing about the comfort, affordable and also like convenient. Because sometimes for example, I don't like to use any plastic waste. I don't like to use any single-use plastic. But along the way, I love to have a bubble tea. And I'm very busy on the way to work. So how I have to stop my drinking. I like to take a plastic cup along that one. So somehow we know that's happened.
We'll give you one of our cups and you can stop by here.
And we forgot to bring our bottle along, so something like that. So I just like to mention that the consumer also have to make their role. The first one, to select the sustainable product, because that one will encourage the business to do the things. For example, I vote for your chocolate. I love your chocolate. I love the things that happen in Vietnam, in my country, and do the things. Yeah. So we have to feel that one and to act. The second thing is that sometimes we have to forget about convenience to change our habit. We have to think about something bigger. And for a long time, because many people are saying to me that, okay, for the sustainable green product, the price is always higher. I just afford for the lower price. I like to have the fast-moving fashion. To be honest, this shirt, this one, I wear 20 times, 30 times. So we say about I share with the young consumers, say that, talk about the two costs. Maybe you could pay higher price, but it will be longer. I think for circularity, the first thing about reduce, especially for food waste, I don't like to have food waste. First thing, so reduce first. The second one about reuse, try to use as long as possible. So when talking about the convenience, about that kind of things, we have to think about long run. We have to think about, okay, that's one you can use longer time. We have to use something that you can wear many times, many years, yeah, something like that. So you can see that, okay, the cost is not there. And something like electricity device as well, something very high cost, but lower electricity that we consume every month, every day. So have to think about that's one, the true cost is important. So on that kind, is you encourage you to act. And please note one thing is very important. Every action counts, even very small. So don't worry about that's very small. Please just act. Today, we don't act, forgot, okay, but tomorrow we have to act as one. And last but not least, sorry, I'd like to share this thing. Please share and inspire others to do the same thing. Don't keep that for yourselves. Don't be ashamed. So, okay, this shirt I already wear many times, or I buy the second-hand things for my usage every day. No, don't be ashamed for that one. So do, act, and share that one to inspire others to do the things. Because consumer, like I say, have a role to make a move. Yeah, to make the both move forward. We are the green, we are the water, and I think that consumer have even not a role for the business, but also for the government to move forward as well, to have the more relevant policy. Yeah, sorry, Niklas, I stopped. Okay.
No, I'm being shown the sign to move to questions.
To
We can run over a little bit. No, there we go. Okay. So no, great points. Thank you. And I think one of the points you made is it's also about awareness, right? Raising awareness, and that's why this event is fantastic for that. We recently did a little thing, and maybe you've seen these sort of artworks in the lobby. They're actually made from ugly vegetables. And what was interesting, and I won't go into the detail, but I think it helped for our own employees to become more aware that there is a significant wastage of food. I think before the awareness wasn't so there, but now it is. So thank you. All right, so there we go. Time for questions.
Hi. So thanks a lot for your sharing. So we understand the takeaway from this session is about the awareness, the education, also the policy. But let's dig down into the real behaviors of consumer in the context of the future food and beverage and also the ESG going forward. So we all aware like sustainability always comes with a cost. So what do you think about the ability of the consumer? You said it's like they are the wind and the, what is it called, the water?
Yeah, the water.
To move the boat, and which is the mass market. What do you think about the Vietnamese consumer readiness and ability to pay toward that sustainability in the context of the current downturns of the economy that the CBG index completely dropped for 30%, 40%? What do you think about that?
Great
I
question.
think that question would be for May and Vincent, because you have your final brother.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's, I mean, in what we do, we create products and experiences. And again, is that experience worth it? So that's the first thing, you know, it's part of bringing people along with your experience. And I think when you get them in that kind of thinking, then they, you know, they pick up on the things that you're doing. So I think there's different ways. There's like either you go out and you ask people what they want, or you think about something that could be innovative or disruptive and could bring some positive value towards sustainability and do it, but apply it with your experience, whatever you're doing. So it becomes this thing it's a bit more, it's less like, showing someone something or telling someone they should be doing something and whatnot. So I think that it's our role really to think along that way, because I think that's the most effective way to bring in consumers, is to make it part of your experience. Not this separate thing on the side, that you, and I think consumers are smart enough today to pick up on that. We're completely bombarded with marketing and messages and everything, that there is an authenticity radar built in now with the new generation. So I think it's really a question of just giving them something that's real, and keeping that going. Anyway, it's.
Actually, I want to say something also, because actually, Eco Vietnam, we also have a B2C products. It is the recycling machine for consumer. I think that it is the product, like a recycling machine, is nice to have. It's not need to have in the family. And then down with the economy going down like this year, because everything is slowed down. And I think there is a lot of customer on our fan page and asking that with this period of economy, we cannot afford to buy that. And we share with them that many, like, you not need to have a machine to start your action. You have whatever that you can separate waste, you do whatever you can for now, and maybe that you save for the future. Then you can buy, when you afford to buy the product, then you start to have a machine, but start from now with all the things that you can do for the sustainable living. So that is my words. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can opine on this as well. So one of kind of using investment language and also NGO language. In NGO language, this is called the theory of change. Like, what is it that's being done that's changing how things can be done, right? In investment terminology, this is called the catalyst, because a catalyst is something that's going to happen, that's going to change things. If we look at Vietnam, the catalyst in the Mekong Delta is moving from high quality or high volume, low quality to higher value, sustainable quantity, right? So this transition, this catalyst is happening. And I think with the businesses, if they're it's very challenging to be at the right place at the right time, because with a company, if there's other dominant players in the market, it's just hard to be first in, best dressed, But to be first in, best dressed when there's a catalyst happening, is a very unique situation. And but they do happen, right? So my point here is it doesn't always make sense to start a company, but sometimes it really makes sense to start a company. But you need to know those seasons very clearly, right? So, and is there a catalyst, right? Is there a catalyst that can be implemented, So I think that's what I wanted to flag.
You missed a season there?
Seasonality, yes.
That's the win.
That's it. All right, next question.
Hello, thank you so much for an amazing panel. I think my question is also off of Vicky's question. I think, Vincent, of course, love your product. It's obviously also very high end, and when we think about the majority of the population living in rural areas, like where my family is from in Tây Ninh province, how are we talking about business models that actually alleviate suffering and restore dignity, and that ESG is sort of an outcome of that, as opposed to sort of, applying the ESG lens. So, when the average person is just thinking about hand-to-mouth existence, and plastic is the cheapest thing. If you go to any wet market in any of the rural areas, everything is just what is the fastest and cheapest, right? So I'm interested, Alex, in particular, are you seeing business models that is not necessarily just about money as the form of exchange? Like I think, Huyen, you were talking about, or we're talking about renting, what about employee staff-owned ideas where they fund things and raise things? We see models where people are crowdsourcing and all that, but things that is not just about money as the main form of currency and exchange, but restoring value and rethinking about business models entirely. I'm just interested in your thoughts.
Yeah. It's a great question. So from our side, with the DFCD, fundamentally what we want to do is increase resiliency. But this is a bit of a buzzword. What it means is we want to increase people's income, and we want to reduce the volatility that they will lose money in the market. So just give two practical examples. In Gamao province, we're working with a company called Kamimex. And Kamimex is exporting organic shrimp. But the market for organic shrimp is actually priced better than, say, normal shrimp. But what happens is as you expand the mangrove belt, there's a knock-on effect because you're also protecting that coastline. So there's a biodiversity impact. There's an increase of resiliency for the farmers. And this is very intensive because you want to go in and train them and you want to get their income up higher. So that's one example where we're working on the organic mangrove shrimp belt. Separately, we're working with a company called Venaseed. And with Venaseed, we're working on a selective breeding program. So this is to develop salt-resilient, blight-resilient rice. So rice is just a really big part of what the Mekong does. And it's, even though an economist can come in and say everybody should leave rice, it's not practical. What you really need to do is provide solutions so people, maybe over time they might transition, but you need to have a practical solution. They can still grow rice, but manage those risks. And these are the types of things that the DFCD is really focused on. And we have other projects that are similar, but just to mention one other theme is also water. How do we recycle water? how do we prevent the people in the Mekong from pumping up the groundwater? And as you mentioned, lastly is waste in general, right? How do we help people transition? But what we don't want to do is make a bar that's too high, and it's a nice solution, but it's not a Vietnam solution, right? So we need a local solution to local problems. But this takes investment, and that's fundamentally why we're here. Yeah.
Great question, great answer. So
I just want to say one thing. I've been active in Vietnam for 11 years, working with cacao. What we have seen, though, is, a 100-fold increase in, small value-driven companies that are working with, small stakeholders, and really, bringing value directly to these, these small businesses or family-run enterprises. So, things are happening. Vietnam is moving out, has moved out of poverty, and there's still obviously room to go. But these it comes from the market. We have to generate something. So we have to create a product of high value, and in order to really be able to have a positive impact. Or, we have funds come in, government, NGOs, with a lot of capital and try to set things up. So there aren't that many ways that are, that have been that effective. But what we have seen, though, is a huge number of grassroots companies that are value-based and active and have brought great benefit.
excellent, thank you for that. Any other questions?
So beer, chocolate. Wow, if you had potato crisps, I'd be in heaven. So, no, more seriously, there's some fantastic ideas here. And actually, last 2 days of the conference, I think it's been amazing for sharing within Vietnam the energy and all these ideas. But how can you also share within ASEAN in the region? Are there opportunities to share best practice, to look at scaling up? Any examples of that, or any resources that you're aware of?
Yeah, maybe I'll quickly answer this one. So there's good knowledge share, I think, between the deltas. So for example, in Bangladesh, in the Ganges Delta, we're working with a company called ACI Agro. So they're doing aquaculture. So we're working on an 18,000 hectare aquaculture project in the Ganges Delta. So we're taking kind of the people from Bangladesh, bringing them to Vietnam. And in this case, they're learning from Vietnam. And then later in the week, I go to Bangladesh, and we can. So I think there's this knowledge share that can happen. And one of the things that's actually very nice is, in some ways, Vietnam is a leader, And we have another project I had mentioned in the previous session on coffee, where we're actually supporting Cambodia on coffee. But once again, Vietnam is the leader, and I think it's a very, very interesting thing that in Vietnam, sometimes it's government support, sometimes it's market driven. But this type of knowledge sharing, cross-border thinking, I think is really important. And I would predict we'll see much more of this kind of South-South support, where the ASEANs are helping each other, not just going, to another country to get that FDI. Yeah.
All right, takeaways. Parting question for the panelists. What are your recommendations for governments, investors, and private sector to enable sustained growth for food and beverage and support entrepreneurs in Vietnam? Maybe we start at the tail end, Ms. Mee.
Yeah, I see that there's some big progress in Vietnam from government side as well. For example, we have a new protection law 2020. And we just have the BDP, the Power Development Plan 8 already approved just recently. So I think there's some progress from the government. But like I see that Vincent and also Chị Huyen already shared, there's still some gap between the law, the framework with the reality in the market. I think that's two-way. So we should have more conversation. The government should have organized more dialogue and conversation with not only business, but also good NGO and good things also good the consumer really go to the market to see what happened in the market. And then they can build up the infrastructure, like you already shared. We have the law there, but we don't have the system, we don't have the infrastructure there. So that's the way. So true thing, I think about the dialogue, the conversation with more business, with NGO, with the organization, and even with consumer to understand the market. And second thing, that how to support to build a system for that one. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Vincent?
Well, I think, we've been seeing more and more support locally from the government. It's region to region for us, but it's, we always would like to see a bit more access to, to partners, to land, in order to develop, things, along the way we would like things to be done. Obviously, agriculture is very capital intensive. So there's also linking companies like ourselves with partners who are like-minded and willing to go, because obviously banks are always looking for buyers, right? So agricultural companies and individuals wanting to set something up, it helps to have a buyer. And so anyway, those linkages, working closely with the government would be very effective here in Vietnam. As far as outside funding, similarly, outside government support, supporting Vietnamese companies who have proven themselves to create value and along employing sustainable methods and so on that could help be a how would you say it? I don't want to use the word catalyst, but that we need that injection to get those kind of projects going.
I think actually, when we talk about the regulation and the rules, and we expect the government doing something on that, but from my point of view, after 2 years reaching out on this food waste business, I think that is the most important that we have to start from the education. We cannot change the mindset of the people now that it is already sector, but we can change from the kids in the school. And I'm working with the school. We not wait for the government to give the rules and the guideline, but we start from the school to educate our young generation how to act properly with all the things that we produce every day. And then at the end of this, we build the future of food as we're talking about. We build the future of food and beverage for themselves. So that is just only one thing that I want to share, because talking about waste, what is that? But about education, this is very important to start.
So from my side, I would say if you're involved with climate change and climate change adaptation, we'd like to talk with you. And then the other one I would say is generally we're open to ideas. I'm not saying that DFCD always has all the right answers, but that's what teamwork is about, right? It's meeting people and listening and trying to understand and things like that. Thanks.
Excellent. That concludes the workshop. Thank you very much for participating in this panel. Much appreciated. I have a cup for you too.
Thank you very much. One thing I want to say that is we have the compost to give away for everyone. If you want to have compost from food waste for your plant, okay? At our station. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah.